This is a big one. Number 14 ranked Arman Tsarukyan is a minus 735 favorite over the plus 510 underdog Christos Giagos, man. Disrespect, right, AJ? I love Tsarukyan. He's a legit killer, but Christos Giagos is no slouch by any means, right?
I'm a little flabbergasted by how much that negative 700 favorite, man, plus a 510 comeback from a boy Yagos. That's crazy. I
Yeah,
don't know what to say.
man. I mean, so why do you think that is? Do you think Sarukian is simply fallen to like the hype? Do you think the media is just hyping the man up? He's a killer, man. I think he's better on the feet. I think he's a better wrestler than Christos Giagos. But as we saw, Giagos could be losing the fight and win. And that's just as simple as it gets, man. What he did against Sean Soriano is he was getting pieced up for the better half of 2 rounds before he used his heart, his experience, his determination, and his grit to pull out the submission victory, man. Put Soriano to sleep, literally, like spit oozing out the mouth the whole entire 9, man. So I will say, like it does strike me as a little overconfidence for Arman Tsarukyan because this has upset written all over it. But at the same time, this is Arman Tsarukyan who basically beat the brakes off of Matt Frevola, one of my favorites, Steamroller Frevola. Davi Ramos, man, huge win versus a very experienced cat in Ramos. Olivier Aubin Mercier, apologies on that Canadian ass name right there, got the big win over him. He was a big name in the UFC before he went over to the PFL, and his only loss as of late has been to Islam Makhachev, man, in a fight where we saw the wrestling almost at a stalemate. Now, the one caveat there is that rumor has it is that Makhachev was actually he had like staph and he was going antibiotics and on medicine and medication and stuff like that, so he had a weakened performance. That's word on the street, right? Don't want to take away from Arman Tsarukyan. Nonetheless, he's taking a step back here, man, because Dan Hooker, he's been calling him out. They've been trying to make that fight happen. He wants to fight a ranked guy. No ranked guys want to fight this guy. That's the problem, AJ. So maybe that is the reason why he's such a big favorite. But let's talk about the matchup, man, because I think that this one could play out very interestingly, man. Do you think Tsarukyan is going to do the normal approach that he does, which is white on rice, on Christos Giagos, do the Dagestani handcuff, cuff the legs, you know what I'm saying? Just wrestling pressure. How do you think this is going to play out?
Yeah, Derek, I think this one is wrestling heavy from the jump, man. Tsarukyan is a grinder, a pressure fighter, and his striking is there, but it's improving more so than, on point at this moment, man. And Giagos, I don't think Giagos remembers half of his last fight because he looked like he was just out of it, just like eyes wide, taking instruction from the coach. Is like, oh, okay, I'll just do that. All right, cool. And but even that right there speaks to the heart of Giagos. And he's, I believe he's a coach for one of whatever camp he's coming out of. So, he's very well talented, knows the game in and out, and he's very hard to put away, as you saw in his last fight. So I think this one's going to be a grinder of a match, man. Back and forth on the wrestling. We're going to see a washing machine, unless somebody gets a backpack put on him and it stays there. But I think it's going to be up and down for like wrestling like crazy on this one, man. What you think?
Well, I will say Christos Giagos, if my information is correct, trains out of Black House MMA under James House, right? The same place that Mackenzie Dern trains under. It's kind of a private gym for like legit pro fighters and, mixed martial artists and stuff like that. And let me give a quick synopsis that I wrote up of Christos Giagos real quick, man. I actually wrote something out for it. Said an afterthought by casual MMA fans, which I do believe he is. He's a high school wrestling MVP, Christos Giagos. He first broke onto the UFC scene back in 2014, went 1-2 in that span, but he was subsequently released from the promotion in 2015. After a few years of regional success, Giagos entered his second stint with the UFC in 2018. We racked up a 4-2 record. That's where we stand right here today. So what his 5-4 UFC record does not show is the comprehensive amount of fights he's had against legit names in the UFC, man. We're talking about high-level opposition, including Gilbert Burns, Charles Oliveira, the current 155-pound champion, Josh Emmett, Chris Wade, and Jakar Close. These are the type of dudes that Giagos has had to fight. Arman Tsarukyan has fought nowhere near the level or the caliber of fighters that Giagos has, which is why, in terms of intangible, in terms of experience, I give the edge to Giagos in terms of just being a dark horse and a straight killer. And honestly, Tsarukyan is my dark horse for the lightweight division, man. This dude has champion in the future. He has all of those makings, in my opinion. AJ, I see a couple of head nods and I see a couple, okay, give me your take. You not loving my man Tsarukyan? What's up? Do you think he's a hype job? What are we talking about here?
No, I guess I shouldn't have given the face as much. I maybe not champ within the next year, but Tsarukyan's a grinder, and the thing you can't take away from him, I believe in his last fight against Matt Frivola, he took that on a week's notice.
Yeah.
And what he did to Matt Frivola on that week's notice, imagine him with a full training camp, because he's staying in shape.
Yeah.
He's out there working in the gym, but it's a different kind of work when you're actually fully focused on one guy and getting those 10 rounds in instead of just like, all right, I'll jump in here and there, do your thing. But it's hard. I gave that face because 155-pound division is rough, man. Sure. It's so deep. It's so hard to get a stake in the claim. And the crazy thing about Christos Giagos is when when he first jumped on the UFC, who'd they give him? Gilbert Burns. Mm. And then you think all right, this is gonna be an easy fight. Some young dude. Nah, Gilbert Burns. That ain't an easy fight at all. Takes it goes the route of his UFC route is going, and then comes back. Guess who they give him? The champ. Literally, Charles Oliveira right off the jump, man. They ain't doing Christos Giagos any favors at all. But Tsarukyan, I think this is the one test where he's going to actually be able to make a name for himself if he gets the win. Sure. If he gets the win, he does it in impressive fashion. I think Tsarukyan's going to finally, start to not be that dark horse that you're talking about and actually get a little bit of shine to his name on this one, man.
Sure, man. Well, I do have to say, man, let's give a little context, right? Gilbert Burns in 2014 was not the Gilbert Burns of today, and Charles Oliveira of 2018 was not the Charles Oliveira of today. Charles Oliveira at one point was kind of an afterthought of the featherweight and lightweight division. So now it looks a lot better today in 2021, but during the time, it probably wasn't as crazy as we're making it out to be. Listen, Giagos is a power wrestler who keeps his head on the center line after he throws strikes, which is a big no-no. Wrestles primarily out of the southpaw stance. I wanted to hit that. Wrestlers, when you're taught to wrestle off of your dominant foot, your dominant hand, right? So when Giagos, he could switch back and forth, orthodox, southpaw, whatever. But it's that obvious tell of when he wants to wrestle, he goes to the southpaw, then does the shot. ARMAN TSARUKYAN is a little more well-balanced than that. Wrestling is a little more high level. So overall, man, I think it's going to be a fun fight. I think and like I said, on the feet, Tsarukyan has the advantage. In the wrestling, Tsarukyan has the advantage. But that's where it could be interesting, is the wrestling, because Christos Giagos, he's a pancration gold medalist, and so is ARMAN TSARUKYAN. He's a pancration world champion and a 4-time jiu-jitsu gold medalist in Christos Giagos. So with all the nonsense aside, all the hyping up and dark horse this and that, give me your pick, AJ, because I'll tell you what, I'm going ARMAN TSARUKYAN TKO round 2, easy.
Ooh, TKO round 2. All right, I like it, brother. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think Christos Giagos ARMAN TSARUKYAN is very much the better man on the feet. And it's up for debate is who's better on the ground, but I definitely think Christos Giagos has a better heart going forward, or at least more of a grit, and has just been doing it a little longer. So I'm going with the underdog, man. I'm going 5-10 plus on this one. Christos Giagos submission round 3. I think this one's going to be a great fight, man.
All right, folks, and all of my betting folks out there who want to play a little wager this weekend, man, it's going to be hard not to put some money on plus 510 Christos Giagos. In all honesty, man, you know what I'm saying? I would not put the minus 735 on ARMAN TSARUKYAN. There's absolutely no value to be had there. Even if he does just blow the brakes off of Giagos, you're not making any money on that. You know what I'm saying? So play the underdog side here. I will say Nate Maness is probably a better underdog play than Christos Giagos, in my opinion. But listen, man, if you hit big on this one. So you got to risk it to get the biscuit. And let me take this off. And right before we move on, folks, drop a like, subscribe. You still tuned in. We appreciate you. BloodyWaterPodcast.com. Give us a follow on Instagram at Bloody Water Podcast and on Twitter at Bloody Water Pod. But the hub, BloodyWaterPodcast.com, you can find all that stuff there. And you can listen to it for free, man, if you don't got Apple Podcasts or Spotify or none of that fancy stuff. So